I knew we had to make an up-tempo record, right? And I went and told Steve, I was like, we're gonna never get out of here unless we make something up-tempo. And I was like, we need to make a bass record. But I was like, we ain't got them, don't do it like that. Just do it like you would do it. And just think Planet Rock or Egyptian Lover, right? Just think that, right? And our first attempt was Whoomp, There It Is. And I never forget, it was the summer of 92. We went and recorded it. And I came to work, popped in a cassette. It was a rough copy. And to this day, that's the biggest response on any record I've ever had DJing. Like 15 people came to DJ booth like, what the hell is that? And it was instant. But my hubris as a young man was like, well, shit, every record I make is going to be the shit, right?
Maybe go like that one.
Yeah. So it's like, y'all thought that was hype. Listen to this, right? And people would like the records, but it never was, it never was like Whoomp, There It Is was. The second thing that happened was I'm sitting on a couch, looking at what was it? Yeah, WGN in Chicago. And this is the year that the Bulls have won their third championship and they're having their big parade in Grant Park. There's 500,000 people in Grant Park. And all of a sudden they start chanting Whoomp, There It Is.
Wow.
And you got all the Bulls on stage and you got 500,000 people just yelling Whoomp, There It Is.
We had to listen to him say this year, he said, now trip this is what he said. He goes, no matter what the outcome was, I think this team was better than the Bulls. Well, my name is not Albert Einstein, and if you look at the record, it was 4 games to 2, and I think someone needs to teach him how to count. Whoop, there it is. We love it, baby.
Most people didn't think I'd be long enough to pick up 3 paychecks, let alone 3 rings. So, whoop, there it is. I just want to say thank you to all you guys that supported us all year long.
Well, it's been 3 long years, and we got our 3rd championship, and we couldn't do it without you. Whoop, there it is.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why education is so important. Because when I say education, people think, man, I got to read. You can do this other ways. Like you just totally dismissed it because I said education. It's learning how to learn. It's the game. I'm giving you game. I'm not teaching you anything. I'm giving you game. It's a difference. But then we were in a messed up record situation too, record company situation. So like I said, we were doomed from the start, right? And what happened, but you fight. You know what I'm saying? And you fight and you claw your way back. And now, with that one song, I've been able to have a 32-year career on one damn song. Not too many people can say that.
Welcome back on a Rumbling Facts podcast where uncomfortable truth collides with critical thinking for raw, unfiltered conversation that drives real growth into the real ones. This is your number one destination to challenge the script. I dive into topics that most people will avoid and spark the kind of mindset that actually moves you toward the life that you deserve. I'm your host, Sam, aka DJ Ret Sam. I'm a rapper, creator, truth seeker, and the founder of a nonprofit called Making Others Read, where I take unwanted books and give them back to communities that cannot afford it, because knowledge is power and it should never be wasted. This year alone, my music has touched over 225,000 streams, quite incredible. I never thought we would get here. And honestly, I've been through hell and back, freebase addiction, blackmail, PTSD, and I even survived a murder, kidnapping attempt at only 16. And I'm sharing this not for your pity, people, but to show you that even at the darkest times and moments in my life, I came out stronger. And that's why I'm here. Life is tough. And if you can extend your hand down and pull somebody up, you should. Rumbling Facts isn't about only the easy answers, it's about the real ones. Today's episode is nothing short of monumental for us because we're sitting down with one of the absolute pioneers in rap history, a true living legend whose influence is deeply woven into the fabric of not just the music industry, but pop culture itself. I'm talking about DC Glenn, the Brain Supreme, one half of the iconic duo tag team whose hit Whoop, there it is, took the world by storm and became a timeless anthem that still resonates today. This track didn't just go platinum, it created a cultural moment that defined an era, and DC was at the heart of it. But what makes DC Glenn truly stand out, he continued to think outside the box and continue to evolve, reinventing himself as an actor, voice artist, and even starring in the Gecko commercial in the past few years that really cemented his place in the heart of millions. What an impressive career that DC had, and he's never stayed in the shadow of that success. Instead, he took bold steps to craft his legacy across multiple platforms. His story is a shining example of what it means to adapt, preserve, and always stay true to your roots. This isn't just an interview, this is a privilege. DC, we're beyond grateful to have you here. Welcome to Rumbling Facts Podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Let me tell you, that was a hell of an introduction. I appreciate that, my friend.
It's my honor. I heard that you met Steve Gibson in high school, so you guys go way back there.
Yeah, we come from a community of friends, right? And you know, a lot of people didn't have that great of a childhood, but I can honestly say I probably had the greatest childhood of all time, just because of the people that were in my life and because of the community of adults that raised me in the community, whether it be through the church, whether it be through school, whether it be through the neighborhood. And it is the one thing that has made me the man who I am today.
Like they say, it takes a community to build a man. That is so true, because for sure you can have a one person pushing you, but really what creates someone is the whole environment around you. How did you and Steve be like, oh, let's create a group together and let's try to go in that direction?
Well, actually, so me and Steve met 11th grade. I had transferred from 10th grade high school called Mashbuff in Denver, Colorado. And I went to the public school that was close to my mother's job. And it was Manual High School. And my last name is Glenn and Steve's last name is Gibson. So the first day in homeroom, we sat next to each other and we became friends. And come to find out that Steve had a band and they would play in the quad during lunchtime every couple of months. And I was just enthralled because I'd always been into music, but I couldn't find my musical footing because I was one of them kids where your mother made me play piano. I had to play trumpet, and I sang in the choir and stuff like that, but I just didn't that just didn't hit me. But when I saw his band perform, that hit me, and I was like, I got to get in that band. And I begged them and begged them and begged them. It was just a nuisance, and they finally let me in. It's called the Business Band, and that's how we met, and that's how I met Otis P, Howie, Wayman, everybody else, and we've been lifelong friends. And with anything, you're exposed to more. Right? I was exposed to more when I went to that high school. I went to my first high school dance from that high school, and that's the first time I saw 2 turntables and mixer, right? And I was like, that's a DJ? And I was like, I gotta be a DJ. So I pursued DJing, and I used to hear music because I used to work in the truancy office, and I would hear music down the hall. and Dr. Joyce Davis was the conductor of the Bolt Vibrations choir, and I had to be in that choir. So I evolved in all three things: singing, DJing, and being in the band. And it really catapulted me into a world that I had never known. And the band was going to be difficult to keep together because we all grow apart. I went to college. Steve did his thing. We all kind of separated, but me and Steve, we had a love of hip hop. And tag team was originally called the Tag Team Crew because it was Steve and Otis P who were the rappers and I was the DJ. But Otis, Man, his nickname is Man. He went to he had to go to the Army. So then tag team became me and Steve. And I moved to Sacramento, California to go to college at Sac State University. And there I befriended a cool dude named John Zanino, Johnny Z. And he was a rock and roll dude, heavy metal dude, actually, right? So he introduced me to heavy metal. I introduced him to rap.
So completely different realm than you there.
Completely different realm. We stayed on the same floor in Jenkins Hall, right? And he, I think for Christmas that year, he had got a 4-track recorder. And a 4-track recorder was like the original home studio, right? How we do it so easy in computers now was 4-track recorder where it was just a cassette tape and you had 4 tracks to be able to do whatever you had to do.
Wow.
And we had some shitty drum machines. I remember we had a Yamaha, whatever. And Z was like, I don't know how to use this thing. And I was like, I'll figure it out. And my homeboy Cornell, he had an 808. And back then the 808 was the drum machine because that was Run DMC, that was the Beastie Boys, that was the beginning of hip hop. And I made about 10 beats because he wouldn't let me hold it, but he let me come over there, bring the 4-track over there, and I recorded those beats. And then I made songs on those beats, however I can make a song, right? Whether I be beatboxing, whether I was scratching, whether I was yelling, whether I was beating pots and pans. And I finished 10 songs and sent them to Steve, and he thought I was in the devil worship because it was music, right? But at the same time, he was just enamored because he was like, I got to get me a 4-track. Then he got his 4-track. And then now, Johnny Z was inspired too. And for those who don't know, Johnny Z is the producer. He had a group called In Too Deep who made Back to the Hotel.
Okay.
So they came out a year before we did. So the fact that both of us met, and we're still best friends to this day, the fact that we met, white dude, he became a hip hop artist.
Wow.
Right? Comes from a good family. I mean, it was just crazy how that happened, how people can influence you, right? And Steve started making beats and we started throwing mixtapes back and forth. And fast forward, Steve moved down to Atlanta to go to the Art Institute. And I was, kind of finishing up at Sac State. And I became the DJ that did all the frat parties. I was DJing in the clubs. I was writing lyrics. When Otis left, I had to pick up the writing lyrics duty. So I wrote in class. And I was very, very good at it because I was always a great writer. But transitioning to writing lyrics during the time of hip hop, I was very good. And, one thing led to another. And I went to visit Steve in Atlanta. And it was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen. And came back, finished school. I knew I was moving to Atlanta. We rolled up a U-Haul truck, drove from Sacramento all the way to Atlanta. And I had a job at CNN. And I'll never forget, it was the weekend of I got there on a Wednesday. It was the week that Do the Right Thing came out by Spike Lee. And we went to the movies, and I went to this club called Magic City, was adult entertainment club, right? Strip club.
Yeah.
And really, right, is one of the most famous strip clubs in the world. Back then, it really, it was famous, but it was like a best kept secret. And the DJ was drunk, messing up, and I was like, shh, I could do this because I think it from California. I'm not that good of a DJ. When I go to Atlanta, I'm not gonna have a chance because it's a big major metropolitan city. And the bouncer, Big Tim, he was like, hey man, they're gonna Magic right there. Go on and ask him. And I was like, hey man, you need a DJ? He was like, nah, but come see me Monday, because he saw something in me. And he was like, I don't need no DJ, but I need a cook. So I cooked at Magic City. I cooked 2 orders. He said you could be a cook and be the backup DJ. So I cooked 2 orders of chicken wings, made a salad. And then the daytime DJ came, was like, hey man, I gotta run some errands. Can you cover for me? And he led me on his turntables.
Wow.
And I DJ'd the whole day. And the girls made more money than they've ever made because I knew how to DJ.
Yeah.
And I knew how to MC.
You
right?
knew how to control that room there.
That has always been my gift, is to read people, control the room. And because I grew up at the beginning of hip hop, and there was only one question: can you rock a party? Can you move a crowd? If you can't do those things, then you're gonna have a hard time. And I'll never forget it. That it was on a Thursday. That Sunday they had a big meeting with all the employees, and we started the meeting, and these 2 girls, Nikki and Indigo, I'll never forget it. They got up and they said, Magic, before we get started, we want him. And Magic looked at me and was like, all right, motherfucker, you up? And I've been the head DJ of every club I've ever DJ'd in since 1989. And that started everything, because now I'm in the hottest club in Atlanta. I got there when Deion Sanders got there, which is a good friend of mine, Dominique Wilkins.
One of the best ever, Deion Sanders.
You know, I knew all the famous people before I was even famous.
Isn't that incredible?
You know what I mean? It was like Babyface and L.A. Reid moved down there, right?
Okay.
Too Short moved down there. So all these people are coming to see me in my DJ booth, and I got pictures to prove it all, right?
Yeah.
So,
at that moment, did you feel like, wow, I made it?
No, never.
No?
Because it was fun. I'm DJing for 100 butt naked women with all the stars. I'm having too much fun to even be thinking that I don't think like that. I've never thought like that anyway. I still don't think like that.
Perfect.
And the beauty of it was that I was able to play our own music. So me and Steve kept making music. But the thing was, we were living down south, and down south was a whole different genre of music, because the genesis of hip hop to me is Planet Rock, the B-boy era, right?
Okay.
You got Sugar Hill and you got the records like that, but really set it off the whole culture was Planet Rock, Al Nafish, The Soul, and even Dr. Dre on the West Coast with Surgery and Egypt with, that was basically all those electronic records, up tempo.
Yeah.
Those spawned so many different genres. You spawned the electronica era, you spawned the booty shake era, which was down south, and you spawned freestyle era, right, which was down in Miami, but it was more Latin, because they all used the same genesis as far as the sample, which was Planet Rock and those records like that. Therefore, I knew we had to make an up-tempo record, right? And I went and told Steve, I was like, we're gonna never get out of here unless we make something up tempo. And I was like, we need to make a bass record. But I was like, we ain't don't do it like that. Just do it like you would do it. And just think Planet Rock or Egyptian Lover, right? Just think that, right? And our first attempt was Whoomp, There It Is. And I never forget, it was the summer of 92. We went and recorded it. And I came to work, popped in a cassette. It was a rough copy. And to this day, that's the biggest response on any record I've ever had DJing. Like 15 people came to DJ booth like, what the hell is that? And it was instant. But my hubris as a young man was like, well, shit, every record I make is going to be the shit, right?
Maybe go like that one.
Yeah. So it's like, y'all thought that was hype. Listen to this, right? And people would like the records, but it never was, it never was like Whoomp, There It Is was. And I kind of shelved it till like that fall. And one of the girl, Cherry, she was like, how come you don't play Whoomp, There It Is? And I was like, I can play it for you, baby. And end up playing it again, same response. This time, though, I had a representative named Alan Cole from Columbia Records.
Oh, shit.
The beauty of that is because I knew, back in the day, there were, 2 hubs for records, right? You had New York and you had LA. right? Nashville was country and everything else, right? But New York and LA were the hubs, but you had satellite hubs, which were you had representatives in all the cities because they would service the record pools, they would service the radio, they would service the DJ. So I knew all the reps. And he was like, "Give me that, man." I was like, "It's my new record." He's like, "Give it to me, man. I'm gonna take that to New York." Because he was going to New York Monday. Took it to New York. Now I'm talking to Columbia Records trying to ink a deal. But they don't know what to do with this because we're down south. And I was like, this could work with everybody. And I gave every label a chance, and every label loved it, and they just didn't know what to do with it. And I almost gave up because it was like people were playing with me and they were making me wait. And beautiful lady named Lisa McCall told me I should talk to Al Bell. For those who know who Al Bell is, in the beginning of soul music, there were 3 record companies: Philly International, Motown, Berry Gordy, and Stax Records, Al Bell. Fast forward 93 or 92, he had put out a record on his new label called Bellmark called Daisy Dukes by Deuce. And it went gold. So I was like, I can go gold. I don't mind. I just want to get put on.
Yeah.
I gave him a call. It took him about 2 weeks to call me. And he called me back and he was like, Mr. Glenn. I was like, who is this? Like Al Bell. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, look, man, I got a hit record. It's been tested. It is the biggest record in this city. And it's a hit record. I said, you've got to sign us. And he was like, okay. I was like, no, don't play with me. And he was like, I'll never forget what he said to me. He's like, no, man. He said, we could do this because I don't have to hear the record. I hear it in your spirit.
Wow.
Agree and get this thing moving.
Wow.
And
he felt it.
Yeah, he knew that I had something, especially I was a DJ in Magic City. So he was like, let's do it. And I was like, cool. And I gave my 2 weeks in Magic City, signed a messed up record contract. And in a month and a half, Tag Team was platinum, and the rest is history.
Wow. How did you come up with your name? And did you ever hear about the wrestler, Bobby the Brain Heenan?
I mean, we grew up in Denver, so we knew all about those wrestlers. But I never, Tag Team is just like, it was kind of, geared toward wrestling because you come in, if you get in trouble, I come in, what I mean? Tag Team back and forth. So that's why it was like that. And that's how we got our name, because it was originally with Otis and Steve was the Disco 2. Then it was the Tag Team Crew. And then it was just me and Steve was just Tag Team.
Why did you call yourself the Brain Supreme?
That name was actually given to me.
Okay.
By a guy named Roy Lee Davis, because we were in Star's Grocery getting high downstairs. And we, you high, you talking and you philosophizing and whatever. He's like, man, I'm gonna call you the Brain Supreme, because you always figuring shit out. Just have a different perspective, right? And it stuck. And my original rap name was in the 80s was Sir Mix-a-Lot DC, until Sir Mix-a-Lot came out with My Baby Got Back. So then I had to change it. So I tried different I think at one time my name was Cecil Glenn Cheesecake Sir Mix-a-Lot DC, the Brain Supreme.
God damn, that's
my name in high school, but it was cool to say that for a couple records, but it was like, nah, you can't do that.
That's way too long.
Then it just settled with DC, the Brain Supreme, because when I went to California, when I was in the dorms, people asked me what my name was, and they were like, I was like Cecil, and they're like, where are you from? It's like Denver, Colorado. It's like, there's black folks in Denver, Colorado. And I was like, yes. It's like, we're gonna call you DC. It's like, no, my name is Cecil. But everybody started calling me DC, and it stuck. So DC, the Brain Supreme, is what I ended up with, and I've been that's been my name since probably the summer of 85, 86.
Wow. How long did it take you guys to write that song in particular? And what was the most surprising about that song? Like after it got platinum, did it keep the heat that it had for years, or it slowed down at a certain point?
So there are a couple things that catapulted it. One was there was no rap station in Atlanta back in the day. It was just all R&B, right?
Okay.
So the guy named Ryan Cameron was the jock. He's still big in this city today. He played the instrumental bed during the breaks. And people start calling him and saying, hey, you need to play that. We know what that is. That's Whoomp, there it is. Play that record. So many calls to play because he would play the instrumental bed. They had to start playing it. Then the second thing that happened was I'm sitting on a couch, looking at what was it? Yeah, WGN in Chicago. And this is the year that the Bulls have won their third championship, and they're having their big parade in Grant Park. There's 500,000 people in Grant Park, and all of a sudden they start chanting "Whoomp, there it is."
Wow.
And you got all the Bulls on stage, and you got 500,000 people just yelling "Whoomp, there it is."
Buddy, for the third time in Grant Park and the repeatables, I'm Rick Rosenthal.
And I'm Dan Roan.
It's good to have you with us for this third time. Weather's perfect. The setting is gorgeous. We expect about 300,000 of our closest friends for this celebration. The press of official business.
I bet his VCR's at work right now, though.
I would guess. Here come the Lovable. Wonderful new tradition was born here this morning, Dan. We bore witness to history. The hula skirts and the coconut bras, a first.
And it was a beautiful thing, wasn't it?
Brought tears to my eyes, you bet. Really work hard.
They sure do. A big part of what happens in Chicago Stadium every game night. Kathy choreographs that group. Kathy and her people really do a terrific job.
A lot of enthusiasm and a ton of energy.
King. Hey, there it is. Oh yeah. Hey. All right. Hey, we had a long, hard year, but we all hung in there and we won the prize. We had to listen to the Atlanta Hawks, we had to listen to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and especially those bad Knicks. Yeah, and I think too. Every time that we played in Madison Square Garden, all we kept hearing was, go New York, go New York, go! Go New York, go New York, go! And yeah, they gone. There it is. There we go. And the final series against Phoenix, we had to listen to Phoenix talk about they saved our city. Police. Well, we did them one better. We saved their city. We had to also listen to Danny Ainge after the game say that he goes, last year when I was in Portland, we knew the Bulls were a better team than we were. Yeah, we beat them 4-2-2. This year, he was on a different team, thinking the thing was going to be different. We had to listen to him say this year, he said, now trip this is what he said. He goes, no matter what the outcome was, I think this team was better than the Bulls. Well, my name is not Albert Einstein, and if you look at the record, it was 4-2, and I think someone needs to teach him how to count. Whoop, there it is. We love you, baby. Most people didn't think I'd be long enough to pick up 3 paychecks, let alone 3 rings. So, whoop, there it is. Say thank you to all you guys that supported us all year long.
Well, it's been 3 long years, and we got our 3rd championship, and we couldn't do it without you. Who? There it is.
Cartwright's going to kill him. And Charles Barkley, if you're watching, it's almost time to talk to God again.
All right.
For just a second, there was talk, a little bit of smoke and not a lot of fire about this notion of Michael Jordan's retirement. He said at the end of the series with Phoenix, the Bulls have won the championship again. He said, my love for this game is strong, and as long as we're winning, essentially, he's going to be around. I can't imagine that being a question for 93, 94, or 94, 95, or am I starting to slide into uncharted territory there?
And that catapulted it right there. And then the next thing, Ed Lover was a personal friend of mine. So when my last couple weeks when I was there, he came down and he heard me play Whoomp, There It Is. He was like, Money, what is that? And I was like, that's my new record. He was like, give me that. I was like, I got a cassette. He's like, man, I can't use no cassette. I need vinyl. So once, after I left Magic, I left the Freak, my last night was Freaknik 93.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple weeks later, I got vinyl, met him back down in Magic City. He took it to New York that Monday. They played the instrumental of on Yo MTV Raps the entire show. And that just blew it up right there.
Wow.
And like I said, the rest is history. And we went on. I mean, it was a good 3-4 year run. And then we started having problems with the record company. Then I was in a 20-year legal battle. And it just we were kind of screwed from the start. But those things happen. And what you gonna do? You gonna just quit, or you gonna figure it out?
In retrospect, when you relook at that contract, what should you have done differently to maybe not?
Because there's two parts of music publishing. That's why when everybody says, "Well, show me what to do," and I'm like, I can tell you what to do, but you got to do it. And I just advise everybody to learn about music publishing because you have your writer's share and you have your publisher's share, and we own the writer's share. And we own the publisher shares 50-50, right? But if you sign over administration of your publishing to the record company, well, then they can recoup you forever. They can always say that there's just tons. You owe this, you owe that, you owe this, that. Artists don't know that all them limousines and all that air travel and all that fly stuff, you're paying for that, right? And we didn't know that. It's like the record company will pay for it, but they're basically giving you a loan. And, because of that, the record company started, they got big, their head got big. They were trying to make bigger deals. They had signed Prince, and they just got too far ahead of their skis, and they had to go bankrupt. And I'm like, well, where's our money, right? And then that's when it started. Then in bankruptcy, another record company, bought the rights, but they stole the rights to Whoomp the publishing, the Whoomp There It Is, when that was under another company. There was nothing that they could do because they went bankrupt. So Al Bell had finally got somebody, which was Bridgeport Music, to fight the battle. And that battle started probably in about it started like 1998 and didn't conclude to 2017.
Wow.
And they got Bellmark, the original record company. Record Company A is the original. Record Company B is the other one. Record Company A prevailed in court, and we prevailed on our end. But there was a lot of legal fees within that time. So that goes against the record. Therefore, we won, but it's like when you go to war, you come back, you're
wounded. Yeah.
The whole thing. And then we were free in 2017. But during that whole time, I basically just vowed, and this is where, this is me. When traumatic things happen to me in my life, I vow that they'll never happen again. And I educate myself. So I basically became a paralegal, right? I'm a licensed commodities broker because I had to learn finance because I vowed that I'd never let people beat me out of money again. So I learned about finance. I'm a registered licensed commodities broker.
Wow.
Trader, right?
Not a lot of rappers can say that.
I'm not good at it though, because I know what it is, right? And I would have to give up music to do that. But I'm also versed in SEO. I'm on the forefront of everything AI. Like I refuse to let life pass me by. Right. And I've learned my lesson in every traumatic thing that happens in society as well. Like with the .com bubble, like with the financial crisis, 2008, and the pandemic. It's like those are the times that you have got to stay ahead of the game and not get emotional about it and understand when things have evolved, right? Like, this country has evolved. We're in a whole different ball game right now. But there are a lot of people who are still thinking about in back in the day. And that is not even relevant these days because nobody's trying to go back like that. Everybody's trying to figure out what the new next thing is.
Exactly.
Or not, or everybody was comfortable in their way of doing things. Because when I came up, it was like you get a job, you work your whole life, and you retire. And that's not young people's way of seeing things now. It's not practical anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to have hustles, right? You have to have, and that's what working in them clubs taught me, because I was a hustler. Because if you have one hustle and somebody sees you making money, they're gonna take your hustle.
Damn right.
And I'm like, okay, that's good. I want you to take my hustle because I've got 10 in the hole. Catch me if you can. I've always got things incubating, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm always been able to make money. I've always been able to be successful. And of course I've had hard times, but when things happen where that pissed me off or I didn't see it happening, I vow it'll never happen again. I do something about it as opposed to complain about it. And that's the way it's been in this whole journey. So that's why good things keep happening. Like right now I'm on 2 tours. You know what I'm saying? And we do tons of shows. I'm playing this weekend in Memphis with a band, right?
Nice.
We do a lot of corporate stuff. And at any time, it's the playoffs, I'm sure we're going to get a call to do a halftime. Like the variety of things we get to do, because 1, we're clean, and 2, we have a record that has stood the test of time. We're still viable, we're still relevant, we're still culturally significant, right? Because it's about energy. It's about bringing joy to people.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's what we do. And that's what I take pride in. And I will always, first and foremost, be a DJ, because those skills allow me to look at anything and be able to adapt and keep people's attention, move the crowd. And I understand what I need to do when I see how people are acting. And that's a gift, because I DJ in the biggest clubs in Atlanta, 3,500 people every Saturday night. Wow. And I get to read that crowd. You get to invent different things. You get to move them how you want to. Then when they trust you, now nobody can take your job. They can be a better DJ, but you have to be invaluable.
Absolutely.
So that's what I learned how to do. I've been in Photoshop since the beginning. So I did all the flyers. I did all the damn radio spots, television spots, fast photography for the girls at the strip club, getting them in magazines for marketing, right? Making calendars. Everybody followed me. I was always at the forefront of something new.
Right? Like never stopping, like finding another avenue and dominating it.
I would look at Madison Avenue and say, what are they doing? Well, let me apply that to the street game.
Wow.
And come up with different things that made me stand out from everybody else, and everybody knew who I was.
So, did you guys feel some pressure after Whoop? There it is, like to recreate something that was again that powerful. Did you guys feel that pressure?
But the biggest mistake we made is that we were trying to be hip hop. So we got away from what got us there.
Okay.
Was up tempo music. Every song after that should have just been up tempo and party, right? And we didn't do that. So, but then we were in a messed up record situation too, record company situation. So, like I said, we were doomed from the start, right? And what happened, but you fight. You know what I'm saying? And you fight and you claw your way back. And now, with that one song, I've been able to have a 30-year career, 32-year career on one damn song. Not too many people can say that.
No, because a lot of them that had a song explode like that, well, they disappear after because they're stuck in that shadow that they can't can't even recreate themselves.
It's not even necessarily a shadow. You got to keep working the record.
Yeah,
everybody's situation is different. So it might be, one of the members of the group died, or it might be they don't even have the rights to even perform the song because they got just so tore up, on their record deal. Every artist that starts out signs a terrible record deal. It's how you withstand that terrible record deal to get to the next contract, right? So it's like with sports, your rookie contract. If you get hurt in your second year, then you're not going to get paid, right? If you're consistently hurt. But if you have 3 stellar years and you make yourself invaluable, then you're going to get your money. And that's what you have to do as an artist. So it's not about the talent. Talent has nothing to do. None of that has anything to do. It's about your deal. If you got a good deal where you can keep making records in comfort, sky's the limit.
Absolutely. So I have a segment about uncomfortable truth. I'm going to ask you uncomfortable truth about life, and let's see where you go with this. Tell us an uncomfortable truth about being a music artist.
Uncomfortable truth about being a music artist is that it's difficult, right? Like, you have to learn. So here's why it's difficult, because if you've had any success as an artist, well, you think like a star. Most people think like a star, and they expect people to do stuff for them. So they don't take it upon themselves to make stuff happen for them.
Yeah, they expect somebody to just give them the word.
They expect things to happen. They expect people to do stuff for them, whether it's a manager, whether it's a booking agent, whatever. They just sitting back waiting. I ain't doing that. I've never done that. I learned marketing inside out so I could be my own marketer. I learned PR inside out so I could be my own publicist, right? I book all of our shows, and we have several different booking agents, but I control it all because I know I can close deals, right?
Yeah.
So I had to learn what the game was. So how do you do all these things? Well, you have to come up with solutions. You have to learn how to learn. It's not enough just to learn something. You have to learn how to learn, right? Learning how to learn is, well, if I want to know something, let me join an organization that is about. So after the lawsuit, I wanted to start touring again. Well, how can we start touring again? We only got one song and it's 20 years later. Well,
yeah.
Let me figure out how the whole concert industry works. So I joined an organization called International Entertainment Buyers Association. Oh, so I can cut out the middleman by going straight to the buyer and letting the buyer know who I am. And that's what I did. And then now being in the Entertainment Buyer Association, everybody in the industry knows who I am. They know the record, and I can have a conversation with them because I understand the industry. And what I understood is that it's not just about concerts. You got casinos, you got cruise ships, you got parades, you got state fairs, city fairs, county fairs. You have NBA, NFL halftime shows. You have corporate parties. You have private parties. You have all these different types of shows. And because we're clean, we can do all that. And that's what we do all year round. But I had to join an organization to get around the people who actually do it. Because you can read it in a book all day. You can take a course. You can do all those things. But it's a difference because somebody's putting you on game. They're telling you from their experience. See, that's why organizations, when I want to learn something, I join an organization. I'm in 30 different organizations because when I want to learn something, I join it. And organizations are filled with people who've been doing their thing
for years.
And at 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and they can't wait for somebody who needs help so they can just brag upon the things they did and tell you what to do. And most importantly, what not to do. And that's how I learned. So I'm in every concert organization. I'm in, writing organizations. I'm in, I'm National Speakers Association. I'm in television organizations. I'm in acting organizations. I'm in voiceover organizations. I'm in grant writing organizations. Anything that I need, marketing organizations, PR organizations, right? That's how I learned all this stuff because those are the people who got the jobs. And when we go to the conference, they can tell me how to do it.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? So that's the thing where your question is, your question has a negative connotation because basically saying what is messed up about being a music artist. But what is messed up about being a music artist can be your salvation. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's with everything. So that's, you can't do it by yourself. You need help.
What do you think is an aspect of being a music artist that is misrepresented by the movies and media?
It's not necessarily, so it's not misrepresented by the movies and the media because everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants to be a star. Right? Everybody wants to be a movie star, but nobody wants to be a working actor. Right? Nobody wants to be a working music artist.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a working actor, that means you're consistently booking roles. They might not be the biggest roles. You might not be a star, but you're making money.
And if you're doing something you love, well, you got your direction.
Fun, right? So that's the biggest misconception because people that want to be stars take shortcuts. If they take shortcuts, then they get frustrated why they can't be a star. And then they start submitting themselves to do things that they wouldn't normally do because now that's being a star is a crack rock. You see what I'm saying? And they might have had a little success one time and they just chasing it now. And my father told me this at the beginning. He was like, it's good that you're doing what you're doing. I'm proud of you and everything, but don't chase it. Don't chase it. Because when you chase it, that's when you fall. And I remembered that. So it was like I never wanted to start them because I was already if you're a DJ, you a star. You're the center of attention, right? And I already knew all the stars. So why? And then I just wasn't raised like that. I didn't have to have that. I had love, right? I had two parents. I had parents. I had a whole community of people who taught me, right? And, when my ego got a little bit out of hand, I got slapped back down. I knew it, right? So, and that's one of the hardest things in life is to, that's when you're truly a man, when you can, sequester your pride and kill your ego. Because pride and ego is most people's downfall.
Yeah, because it could be the good part of you, but it could reflip to the other side, that ego, and bring you to hell.
Yeah. And I train myself to see, I don't think about the problem. I think about the solution. Right. I'm trying to figure out solutions. Right. I thrive in the upside down. Right? I thrive in the bizarro world because there's a solution. If you can't, we're living in a bizarro world now, somewhat. If you can't thrive in this world, then you're not thinking the way you should be thinking. Right. So that's why there's no excuses. As long as you breathe in there, no excuses. You can come up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
When you're emotional about it and your ego gets in the way or your pride gets in your way because you don't want to be wrong, you don't want to make mistakes, you think you're better than you are, or you think people are beneath you, that's when you stay stuck and you can't even figure it out because you're in your own way.
Absolutely. You've seen the evolution of the music industry. For an artist like me who's been putting out music for a year and been writing for 21 years, how should we start creating real opportunities for ourselves to maybe get noticed by the right people, to find maybe a mentor or a manager or even label to at least see us?
Organization. You get in the Polestar, they got a book of every record company in the world. You get in the Polestar, they got a book of every management company in the world. You get in the Polestar, they got a book of every they got support for everything, right? So that organization is going to be what you need to even find the people to even talk to, right? So, for me with music, if I was to be an artist, you have to think outside the box. Like for me to put out a record right now would be just stupid because if I put out if I make a record and everybody, I'm like, hey, everybody, listen to my record. And people are going to be like, man, DC did real good with that Geico commercial. You need to sit his old ass down, right? But if I make a record, submit it to the ad agencies, and give them pitches that you could use this song with one of your ad agency pitches, or you go to the movie industry because you're in the Screen Actors Guild, or you're in a NAPTA, which is National Association of Television Producers. You go to that conference and you say, I'm a musician and I'm trying to get placement in movies. Well, that's a way too. So if you get placement in movies now, you don't need the marketing or anything. The movie does it for you. If you think about right now, we're in the NBA playoffs. Every year in the NBA playoffs, you're going to hear a beat where it's like, wow, that's a cool ass beat. I wonder what that song is, because it's in a commercial.
Yeah.
Right. Now that song becomes a hit commercial because for the next 3 months or the next 2 months, you're going to hear that song over and over and over and over and over and over again. Right. Now that commercial has done the work for you.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? You can make a Christmas song, right?
Wow.
You can make a Christmas song and submit it to everybody, because around in December, everybody's looking for anything Christmas. And if you submit it in July, everybody's looking for anything, because that's when the Christmas movies are made. You see what I'm saying? There's always a different way. You got to think outside, not inside.
Yeah. Because
now,
people,
you want to be an artist and you want to be, that's the dream, is to be a rock star. I get it. But it's different now. The attention span is shorter.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If you do have a hit record, it's only going to last 2 weeks, right? But if it's placed, more people are exposed to it in different ways, because everybody doesn't stream, but a lot of people watch sports. Or a lot of people go to stream, everybody watches movies, right? So now they're hearing a song that they might not have heard because you switched the platform on them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Now you got traction, and now it's up to you to put yourself out there to be the publicist, put yourself out there to be your own marketing, put yourself out there to make the moves that you need to make to get in those, to build those relationships, to be able to submit more music because they trust you because you did this one thing.
What do you think separates the people that make it and for the people that don't, for the long run?
You got to own your publishing. You can have a mediocre record and live off and have a modest income living off the publishing, because it's going to get licensed to movies. It's going to get licensed for commercials. It's going to get licensed for, industrials, right? You could get licensed for so many things. So it's about the business part of it, right? The popularity, you can't depend on that, because it's not like it was back in the day. When we came out, there was always going to be a song of the summer. Song of the summer is Tone Loc Wild Thing, Young MC, Bust a Move, Vanilla Ice, Ice Baby.
Yeah, that was huge.
You know what I mean? Hip Hop Hooray. Those were summer songs. They came out in April, in the spring, and lasted all through the summer, through the next year. Right? Whoomp, There It Is. Right? Those summer songs, they don't have that anymore. Right? And it probably can be that way. But if you got a summer song that catches a spring break, now everybody goes back to their college town and they're playing the hell of that into the summer. Come on, man. It just depends on how you do it. And like I said, what I do is I get pretty much every course on the planet Earth. And I get every music book, every music course. And when people ask me to help them, I say, okay, but I'm going to give you homework first. And I give them that folder. And I say, read up on music publishing, call me back in a month. And they never call me back, because everybody wants to be a star. Nobody wants to make no money.
So you take the time out of your day to send that folder to somebody and they don't read it? Wow.
I mean, because it's hard, because it's the business part of it.
Yeah, but it's reading. Like the guy gave you the first step. Just do it.
So that lets you know that where everybody's mind is at, and that lets you know that most people don't make it.
Wow.
Most people don't make it, right?
Well, for sure, I would have took the time to read it. Like, I don't even understand it. Somebody make it so high.
And I'm gonna send it to you, and you can put your money where your mouth is, because it's how.
Damn right I will.
It's about everything the music industry has to offer. Everything for the last 10 years. Every music publishing book, all of it. I've even got the video. I've got videos. I've got courses where it's just videos. people explaining it. I've got everything, and I stay up on it. I add to it all the time.
Wow.
So we're never out of date. How to get with DistroKid, how to do this, how to do that, all of that. Right? I have that in one folder, and I send it to people, and they never call me back.
Well,
because
I will call you back.
Guide you through it and get you to the next thing.
Yeah.
Right. And the next thing, and the next thing. And you're going to start getting ideas because you understand how the business works. Once you understand how the business works, then you can act accordingly. You can find avenues where other people are not looking. You see what I'm saying? You try to get in where you fit in, but you don't know where to go to get in where you fit in.
Yeah.
Once you start understanding how the whole industry works, now you can get in. You're listening to, most people are listening to YouTube videos, TikTok, stuff like that, instead of just understanding what music publishing is, understanding what all these things are and how they're relevant to today. If you understand how all these things are relevant to today, then there's a way that it can be done. You get your music on jukeboxes, you can get your music on all kind of things, right? I mean, Whoomp There It Is been used so many times for so many things. It's just always income coming in because we're the writers of the song. So if you're the writer of the song, every time it's played, you get a percentage of money. Now, the writer's part is so there's two parts of publishing. There's the writer's share, there's the publisher's share. The publisher's share is where the sync is, where, they want to use it for a movie, that's the sync fee. They want to use it for a commercial, that's the sync fee. That's a bigger chunk. But the writer's part is overall from radio to television to everything. And you get a small, it's pennies, but it all adds up.
Yeah, right? For sure.
Because if you got a hit record playing all over the world, then you got international. And that is a nice, I don't have to work. Right. Because I'm only getting half of the publishing. I still have to supplement that because it's good. It's a good part of my income, but it's not the sole part because it's only one song.
Yeah,
if I had a catalog, if I had thousands of songs, if I had Janet Jackson's catalog or R. Kelly's catalog, people like that who got tons of songs, then I don't have to work ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Just off the writer's share. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So these are the things that you have to know before you even go in, because because what happens is it's traumatic and it'll blindside you and take you in places that you never thought you could go. It's kind of like addiction.
Absolutely.
Right? You'll find yourself in places where you're like, how I got to change my life. I got to do it because you got to take the time to understand what you're getting into before you do it. And I tried that, but sometimes it just don't, I went to the lawyers, but our lawyer was a paralegal and he missed some things. And those things that he missed was just, it didn't work. Wow. It messed us up. Right now, the key for me is that I'm a grown ass man. So therefore, I don't blame anybody. I take full responsibility for my history and what happened to me. And as long as you, and just this why I leave you, as long as you're breathing, there's nothing that's not possible.
Absolutely.
Right? Back in the day, perfect example, back in the day, we made a record with Disney called Whoomp There It Went. And I'm up here teaching the voices of Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, husband and wife team, how to rap. And they teach me about voiceover and animation. But because of my hubris as a young man, because I'm on some old star shit, I don't realize where I'm at and don't realize the opportunity and how to parlay it into something even bigger. And I beat myself up for years, right? Because I was there. But fast forward now, I'm a voice artist. That's under 3 or 4 different talent agencies that does work. So it's a part of my income. 1995, I'm sitting in the office of New Line Cinemas, new president, because our manager went to school with him, and he's trying to throw me a bone, talking about he can cast me for this movie. And I'm like, yeah, talk to Pam, she can hook it up. But he knew I wasn't really serious. And he was like, the leads are LL Cool. We're fighting between LL Cool J and Wesley Snipes. and we got to pick which one who wants to be, wants to be the lead. He's like, it's a vampire movie. It's called Blade. I beat myself up for years because I was there.
Because that was a hell of a movie, the first one especially. Though.
Yeah, it's the first Blade.
Yeah, that was big.
New line. They might have had 2 movies under their belt.
Yeah.
Right? And it was Blade, man. But fast forward now, I'm a working actor. Dynasty, P-Valley, Things People Play, Re-Education of Molly Singer, Geico commercial. I'm an actor. You see what I'm saying? Now it's up to me to get to that level. But if I had started back then and had the mindset I had now, I'd be straight. Because I'm not going to let it, I'm going to get better at it because I'm going to figure it out. Right? I'm going to go to every class. Like I was really on my way with acting until the pandemic hit. Once the pandemic hit, it was like, that changed everything. But then there was actor strike. There was all these obstacles. But I still haven't given up. But now it's slow. But that's why I have voiceover. That's why I still got tag team. That's why I do marketing. That's why I'm SEO. I do SEO, search engine optimization, ability to get on the front page of Google.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm marketing right now. That's why I'm very savvy in AI, building my own. I got a tag team language model. Where everything I write, it's exactly what I want to be in that article or that blog post or that bio, because I built that language model.
Exactly.
Chat GPT, they're going to go back and get a Time article from 1993, which that information is relevant, but that's back then. I need you to know what I'm doing now to make it enticing enough to what I'm trying to do now. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why education is so important, because when I say education, people think, man, I got to read. You can do this other ways. Like you just totally dismissed it because I said education. It's learning how to learn. It's the game. I'm giving you game. I'm not teaching you anything. I'm giving you game. It's a difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to realize a long time ago that everybody's not me, and this ain't for everybody.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? So don't get mad at people when they don't. I don't get mad at people when they don't help. They don't respond. I don't get mad. I don't do that. You give what you want first, and that's why I'm blessed.
Yeah, a lot of people expect something to be given without them giving something back, but especially in careers like we have, like you gotta understand that you're gonna work for free to get the end goal at a certain point. There, you gotta give something to get something back. That's for sure.
Hey man, I'll do a free show if I think I could get 30 down the road, right?
Yeah.
I don't care, because that's all
you see at the bigger picture. That's what you look at.
Picture, you know what I mean? The long game, right? So, that's what I want to leave you with, that anything is possible, but you have to stay on top of technology. You have to stay on top of it. You cannot let life pass you by. I've watched a lot of people die because they let life pass them by. So when something traumatic happened, they don't know how to deal with it. They're in a disadvantage. Right?
Yeah.
And there's always, like, I learned this lesson back in 2000 when it went from vinyl to CDJs. I learned a lesson when it went from cassette tapes to vinyl. To CDs, because I would sell mixtapes. And then it was like, you ain't got no CD. And I was like, oh, all I'll do is mixtapes. And then my money suffered. So I had to go get the CD machines to come to stay up on it, which I should have seen it coming, and I didn't. Same with that. I'll never DJ. I'm a purist. I'll never DJ with no damn CDs. And I almost lost my job because I did that. And that's when I found that shit will never happen again. I will never be like, I'm all right, I'm doing this old school stuff. Right? And that's what's happening in today's society. It's like, people lost their manufacturing jobs. And they sitting around waiting for their manufacturing jobs to come back, but they ain't never coming back. The way it was ain't gonna come back. I would love to go back to the 90s because we was making money in the 90s.
Yeah.
Anything. I could have bought, you could buy real estate, man, you could do all kind of stuff, but though that's not happening now. You have to figure out what it is and what the opportunity is now And that's why I tell people, I was like, when they make laws, when they put stuff on the books, don't complain about it. Go and read it, because it's in a document somewhere. Read it, figure out what they're doing, so you can adapt your business to that new law, so you can come up on it. Because there's always going to be somebody not getting it, and there's always going to be somebody getting
it. That is so true. For our last question, I know you're big into self-improvement and mental performance, especially through NLP and learning how the brain works. What's one mental reframe or inner dialogue shift that completely changed your life or career that you discovered?
It's ever evolving. Okay, I can tell you, learning how to learn. I said, you have to learn how to learn. So most people say read a book, but about, then it's audiobooks. Well, what about, going to class? What about calling the master of the industry and say how much it's going to cost for you to teach me one-on-one, right? You got to learn how to learn. What are the tricks of learning, right? Like I learned right now, if I build a prompt, put it in Chat GPT, and it gives me the answer, well, I could read it, or I could have it read to me. And if it reads well, it writes well. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like you have to learn how to. You might miss something reading it that you don't miss when you hear it. Whenever I get a script, I throw it into AI, because I can tell it what to do. I can get ideas, right? If I want to make a song, I'll be like, okay, I'm trying to make a song about this. Give me 50 different titles that you might come up with. And you might take the first 2 words from one title and finish it with the 3 last words from another title. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's about seeing it, right? You see it, you hear it, you read it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You use all your senses to learn what you need to do. And then you do test. And I test it during shows, right? I write comedy routines, not to be a comedian, but to have better interaction with people when I'm in front of 20,000 people rocking a stadium or rocking an arena, right? And that's just DJing to me.
Yeah, a lot of people are gonna take that AI like, oh, I don't want to get into this, but it's like this stuff, like it's just gonna get bigger. So might as well use the tools that maybe you have to get an advantage.
If you do it right, this is what AI is for you. I'm sure everybody said, man, I wish there was. If you feel you're smart, then you wish there was 3 of you, because then you can have 3, because you only know what you want to do. You only know your vision. Man, I wish there was 3 of me. Well, AI is your second brain.
Exactly.
If you build out the language model.
Yeah.
Building out the language model is as simple as putting all the information about the thing that you want to write about, the thing that you want to make pitch decks about, the thing you want to make flyers about, the thing that you want to put a podcast together about, everything that you want to do about. That's a language model. And now that's a second brain, and that brain evolves as you add more stuff to it, as you add more prompts, as you ask more questions. It's another you.
Yeah, exactly.
So it takes on a whole nother life of you. Well, can be another you when it comes to acting. There could be another you when it comes to this, when it comes to that. That is how you use AI.
Absolutely.
It's you. Now, if you just throwing stuff in, asking the mundane questions, well, then you're just out in society. Everybody's brain is building a language model. Then you're going to get it's not going to be pinpoint. It is not your brain.
Yeah.
You have to put your brain into a language model, and it starts learning. And now you can really bang out things that you would have had to pay somebody to do. And even if you pay somebody to do it, they might not get it the way you want them to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
I learned that the hard way, but I'm good at it now. And, I just encourage everybody to get good at what you need to do to get where you need to go.
Perfect. So thanks again for coming on the podcast, DC.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for letting me come on here and run my mouth, man. And like I said, I'm going to send you that folder. We're going to see what you're going to do.
Damn right, bro. So thanks everybody for coming on, and have a great weekend, everybody. Man.